Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. I know the videos have been a little slow, guys. I apologize for that. I've been dealing with some things that I had to knock out first, and that resulted in me not editing or putting out videos, but I am back sooner than most of the time when I take a break. So yeah, I know that a lot of you guys were looking forward to this last FutureFight because this is the last one that we have left from Vilus Deleters before we move on to the next set that's coming out, which would be the Bermuda set. But yeah, this is going to be the FutureFight Vanguard video for V-BT04 Dark Irregulars. Dark Irregulars kind of got more of a soul charge engine in this set, and they got some retire cards as well. Even though I don't really lean towards the build that is kind of the build where you're using all the new stuff, I think that the most efficient build is actually kind of like a mix of the old build and some new cards. So let's get right into that. But before we get started, definitely subscribe if you guys haven't already so that you don't have to miss any videos going forward. Be sure to like the video and comment down below letting me know what you think of the deck or any text or anything like that that you've been using and that you've been trying out, deck builds that you like as well. And also be sure to check out our sponsor down below in the description, Dabbers Cards and Games. They're a local Georgia card shop. They have a lot of cool merchandise as well as tournaments for Vanguard, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and Pokemon, I believe. They also have a lot of cool merchandise from Japan, so definitely swing by if you're in Georgia. And if you can't swing by, then they also have an online site at dabberspro.tcgplayer.com in the description below as well, so check that out. But with that being said, let's get right into the deck here. So we actually went for more of like a No Life King rush deck. So basically this standard deck focuses on getting to No Life King's conditions as fast as possible, and then basically rewriting into No Life King over and over and over again. If you need defense, you can rewrite into Dontarian, and then if you're ready to finish off your opponent, you can rewrite into Fifth Element as well. So let's get right into the deck profile. So we have 4 King of Mass Dontarian. So Dontarian is the new one of the new cards I'm talking about. This is like your new soul charge engine. So this card has 3 Vanguard abilities. The first one is when you're calling Guardians, you may even call grade 2 or greater cards from your soul. Now this is a more useful skill in the new build where you play that 1 grade 2 and that grade 3 that gains shield value, so that you can shove them into your soul and then you can call them out to guard, and it just becomes a really defensive deck. But I think with this deck already being a protect deck and already gaining a good amount of cards in your hand, you don't really need to build defensively for Dontarian. What this deck actually lacks is that offense, so I tried to build this deck as offensively as possible to kind of make up for the fact, to give it some balance, as Thanos would say, as all things should be. But the second Vanguard skill is when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you may soul charge 2. So this is a cool ability because it allows you to attack into rear guards, use skills like Gwen the Ripper to retire cards, and then you get to soul charge for it. So very, very good. Not really a downside to that. It's just a good soul charge engine. It is a little bit better in the other version of the deck as well, just because you have cards like the new grade 2 that retires cards, you play like a grade 1 that retires cards, etc, etc. So you can kind of build this build any way you want. I just think that this is the most efficient way to do it. The third ability of Dontarian is when a grade 2 or greater card is put into your soul due to the ability of a card, 3 of your rear guards get plus 5k. So this is a really cool and important card because you soul charge a lot in this deck because it's Dark Irregular, and this makes your Dontarian turns not as weak as they would be with Dontarian just being your first ride. Usually the first ride of a deck is very, very weak compared to the second ride, which the second ride in this deck would be No Life King. Unless you can ride No Life King first and get its conditions, then hey, all praise to you. But usually we want to ride Dontarian first to set up for No Life King, and then later when we're ready, ride into No Life King. So it allows you to use cards like Ruthven to soul charge any grade 3 or something like that. So let's say that you have a Master of Fifth Element that goes to your damage or goes to your drop zone because it was in your hand, you had to PG and guard with it or something. You can actually use a Ruthven, shoved Fifth Element to your soul to prepare for later, and then you can give 3 of your rear guards plus 5k, which makes your turn a little more aggro and definitely makes you able to hit those numbers against all types of decks, including Force. So moving on to No Life King Death Anchor. I know a lot of you know this card skill if you play Premium, because this deck was absolutely busted in Premium. But if you play Standard, you might not know this skill because not that many people play Dark Irregulars. So let's get right into it. So we have 2 Vanguard skills. The first one is when it is placed, you soul charge 1, and this unit gets plus 2,000 until the end of the turn for each card in soul. So something to mention about that is, yes, the soul charge is mandatory. I've had a lot of people ask me that, and a lot of people think that it is like a cost. It does not say cost next to it. So if you ride this card, you do have to soul charge. So be careful of that when you are riding Death Anchor originally, and you have to soul charge, but also when you use Death Anchor skill to ride a new grade 3 from your soul. If you're going to ride into Death Anchor, make sure that you have enough cards in your deck to support that or to do what you'd like to do with that. The second ability is at the end of the battle that it attacked, and it can attack Vanguard or Irregulars, which is pretty cool as well. If you are just 12, for example, let's say that you have no booster and you're fighting against the new Zombaku deck, and they're on Zangeki and they're 17k, you can actually just attack into the left arrestor, which they'll probably no guard, so you can get rid of the left arrestor, decrease the power of their Vanguard, and do the reride after that as well. So at the end of the battle that it attacks, if you have 13 or more cards in your soul, you can counterblast 1, put a card from your hand into the soul, and 3 rear guards into your soul, and then you ride a card from your soul as stand, and it gets +1 critical until the end of the turn. I do wish that this ability gave it a little power, because when you re-ride into Dontarian and master the 5th element, it can be a bit weak, but it is still a very solid card, giving a crit as well. So Master of the 5th Element is our very last finisher card that we only want to go into when we're absolutely sure that we can finish the game, because otherwise you lose your entire resource base, which is your soul and your hand. So you lose 2 sources of resource for you, and you'll probably lose the next turn after that after you use 5th Element. So definitely be careful of that. But the Vanguard skill of 5th Element is when it attacks, if you have 15 or more cards in your soul, you can put all cards from your hand and soul into drop zone, and you stand all of your units. So what this means is that you get a restanding Vanguard and you get double rear guard attacks. So basically what would happen with No Life King, ideally, is you want to be able to have No Life King on the board, and then you want to have 3 of Roklus in the back row, and then you want to have some Werewolf Seekers in the front row, because those hit 14k columns. So you basically want to attack with or you can have Dimension Creeper in the front as well, since Dimension Creeper will be 13k. So basically you can attack with your rear guard, or sorry, you attack with Vanguard first, so go No Life King first, then you use the skill of well, I guess it kind of depends on you. So if you want to attack with your rear guards first, you can. I don't like doing that because I like being able to stack triggers onto my rear guard and restand them twice. But you can basically, the order that I would do it is attack with your Vanguard, which is Death Anchor, shove 3 back row cards into soul when you're trying to finish them off. Then you ride into 5th Element here, and then 5th Element, because of Vorukaklus, whatever this card's name is, because this card goes to soul, the skill goes on standby, so you're able to finish out No Life Death Anchor skill, and then you're able to give plus 30k to 5th Element, which makes this card 42k with a crit. So that's really, really good when you swing really big with No Life originally, and then you swing with 5th Element for 42k and a crit. You swing with your rear guards, you swing with your rear guards, then 5th Element, use the skill of 5th Element, discard everything, get rid of everything from soul, restand everything, and your Vanguard is still attacking, so they still have to guard 42k with a crit, but then they also, you can also attack again after that. So you get 4 checks, you get 4 chances to check your triggers, and then, yeah, you get to do all that good jazz. So then we have our grade 2 lineup, which is 4 Werewolf Seeker. Werewolf Seeker skill has 2 abilities. The first one is a Vanguard Rearguard ability, and the second one is a Vanguard only ability. The first part of the ability is during your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in your soul, this unit gets plus 5,000 power, so you're able to be a 14k base usually when you ride, because on the grade 2 turn, you're able to get to 5 soul usually. And then the secondary ability is when it attacks into Vanguard, Soul Charge 2. So another ability that helps you Soul Charge Turbo really fast. Hopefully you Soul Charge a Dimension Creeper, because that has a useful skill in the soul. But it helps you Soul Charge really fast to start getting to those no life numbers of soul that you want. Then we have Gwen the Ripper at 4 as well. Has a Vanguard rearguard ability. It says when it's placed, soul charge 1, and then if your soul has 10 or more cards, counterblast 1, and choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. So you get to retire one of your opponent's cards if you have 10 or more soul for a counterblast, but you don't really care about that. We're really just running it for the soul charge, so that we can ride Werewolf Seeker on turn 2, call our Gwen the Rippers, get our soul charge, and then also be able to rush our opponent to get them to high damage to prepare for that No Life King 5th element finish. Then we have 4 Blood Sacrifice Ruthven. So what Ruthven does is when it's placed, you can put up to 1 card from your damage zone or your drop zone into your soul, and then if it was put from your damage zone, then you put the top card of your deck into the damage zone face down, similar to Angel Feather, and then if you put a Vorpal Clockless in your soul, then you get to counter charge 1. So you usually want to put a Vorpal Clockless in soul unless you're on Dontarian and you're trying to set up. Then you want to put a 2 or a 3 into soul, so that way you mainly a 3. You want to put a 3 into soul to prepare for No Life King, and then you also want to be able to get the 5k to 3 units from Dontarian because your rearguards are usually pretty weak without you power boosting them. Going into our grade 1 lineup, we have 4 Alluring Succubus. So Alluring Succubus has an activation skill on rearguard that says counterboss 1, put this card into your soul, and then look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 grade 3s from among them, put 1 grade 3 into your hand, and put 1 grade 3 into your soul. And if you just find 1 grade 3 off of the skill, you can actually just put into your hand. So this actually helps you grade 3 search very, very, very efficiently in this deck, because we do run 9 grade 3s, so the chances that it's going to be in top 7 is very high, good chances, and it also allows you to prepare for No Life King while also getting you 2 soul if you found 2 grade 3s, 1 off of Alluring Succubus itself, and then 1 off of putting the grade 3 into soul. Then moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Dimension Creeper, the new V-Series one. So Dimension Creeper has a continuous rearguard ability that says if a grade 3 card is in your soul, this card gets plus 5,000 power, so turns into a 13k base. Really cool because it allows you to hit Force Vanguards without a booster, which is really, really solid. And then its soul ability is also really, really good. It says counterboss 1 when this card's in the soul, and put this card on the bottom of your deck, and you can soul charge 3. So you can actually plus your soul by 2 just by this card being in the soul and you using the skill. But also if you happen to soul charge multiple grade 3s or grade 2s, you can actually, if you're on Dontarian, give all that power to your rear guards so that you can swing for really big. We run 4 Varg Clockus because of its synergy with No Life King and 5th Element, but also because we run Ruthven and we always want to give ourselves the chance to countercharge if possible. When it's retired from the guard circle, we can soul charge 1, so ideally we want to guard with these, soul charge with it, and then put them into soul from Ruthven, or have them in our hand and save them and put them down on the field for the No Life King 5th Element turn so that you can boost that 5th Element to really big numbers. Then its second ability is when it's put into the soul from a card ability, then one of your Vanguards gets plus 10k. Pretty simple. Then we have our starter, which is Vermilion Gatekeeper. When you ride upon it, you can draw a card. Pretty simplistic. Then we have 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. Mainly because we soul charge a lot, so we don't run a lot of draw triggers. Like I have seen people running builds where they run like 5 or 6 draw triggers or something like that. We really didn't want to run that because we just didn't want to risk the biscuit, basically. We didn't want to risk soul charging a lot and then hitting draw triggers at the same time and then using Dimension Creeper on top of that, because we're trying to soul charge a lot, and if we hit draw triggers, ultimately in the end that's just going to deck us out. Like even with this build, we still deck out against some things like other protect decks that can hold on for a very long time, like OTT. So opening up our card fight area back here again so that we can load up our games. So game 1, we're playing against Nova Grappler, which is pretty interesting because it's been a long time since I've played against a Nova Grappler player. We do no pass his first attack. We draw and we attack with Werewolf Seeker. We check a heal trigger, giving the power to our rear guard, and we attack for 19 because we are not yet at 5 cards in soul. He goes for that classic Nova Grappler rush. We take it because we do want a little bit of damage. We hit a draw trigger, putting the power to Vanguard. He makes us, or he has to attack into our rear guard, which we do guard with a Varg Clockus so we can soul charge. So then we use Dimension Creeper skill. We attack into his Vanguard, he gets a draw trigger, and then we attack into Vanguard with No Life King. We do get a crit, putting the crit to Vanguard, so he takes 2 damage, and then we attack his Vanguard for 24, he's forced to guard. He has a lot of grade 3s in his hand and not much hand, so I think that we're going to be able to finish him off relatively quickly, especially because he's just attacking into our rear guards, which we don't particularly care about, so we're just taking all this damage. We do draw, and I think I was checking my soul here. We don't have enough yet, so I was playing, I put Ruthven on the Rearguard circle, and then I use Dimension Creeper, hoping to get another Dimension Creeper soul charged off of it, which I do. So I'm able to do Dimension Creeper twice and get the numbers for No Life King. So then we attack into our opponent's Vanguard, and our opponent just no guards. We were going to do no Death Anchor anyways into 5th Element, which we did have in Soul. We were going to put these 3 rear guards in our back row into our front row. These 2 would be able to attack multiple times, so it was going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks, and he doesn't even have, he has 7 cards in his hand, but he basically could not block every single attack with just 1 card. So he would have died regardless of whether or not he no guarded right there at that point. Loading up our next game. We're waiting for our Cardfight area to open here. And boom. Alright, so here we go. So we're loading DI2 here. So game 2 we're playing against OTT, which is kind of unfortunate. We kind of hate playing against other Protect decks, but we'll go after it. So we ride Dimension Creeper, always our ideal first ride. Our opponent attacks into us, we take a damage, draw trigger, pretty cool. We do Werewolf Seeker and Dimension Creeper, so we have 14k rear guards, and we soul charge the Varu Clockus. That's why our Vanguard is 24, and then we soul charge another one, so it's 34. So then we attack, our opponent takes both attacks, re-rides into Hexagonal. We take the damage from Hexagonal, we get a heal trigger, so we do heal off the damage power to Vanguard. He attacks our rear guard, which we don't really care about. We ride into Dantarian, and we play Dimension Creeper on the rear guard. We use Dimension Creeper skill in the soul to give both of our rear guards some power, hopefully, but we don't get a grade 3 soul charge. So we actually decide to attack into the rear guard so that we can soul charge 2, give power to our rear guard, and then we check a crit and a draw trigger. He also checks a crit and a draw trigger. So we attack him again, and he takes the damage. He does re-ride into Hexagonal again, and he plays Deer on the rear guard, even though he can't really use the skill. He does check double heal triggers, so he goes down, which I'm like, wow, blessed. But then he attacks us with both of his rear guards, which we choose not to guard because those are just too high to risk the biscuit. So we do re-ride into No Life King. No Life King gets power, and then we use Dimension Creeper skill to soul charge 3. And I'll actually show you guys our soul here too, so you guys know our soul. So we attack with our rear guard for 20. We attack into Vanguard for 30 or 40 something. We get a crit. We go crit Vanguard power rear guard. He takes 2 damage, and then we use No Life King skill to shove 3 rear guards on the soul and another card, and we re-ride into No Life King. He does use a protect marker, so this is what we want against the protect matchup, is we basically want to make them use as many protect markers and PGs as possible. So he actually rides Pentagonal, and instead of doing Pentagonal skill, which I think would have been a lot better, he goes into the Deer skill, and he actually doesn't get Deer off, but he gives 10k to everything. We PG the Vanguard. He checks no triggers off of his Twin Drive, which sucks for him. And then we take 1 damage, and we block 1 damage. So pretty self-explanatory there. We do re-ride into No Life King again, play our rear guards, so we have a Vorg Clockus, and we just attack into his Vanguard for 63. He PGs. We add a crit to our rear guard, and then we do No Life King skill, putting all the cards in the soul. We re-ride into 5th Element. 5th Element gets 10k because of Vorg Clockus, and then we attack into Vanguard, soul charging all these cards, and he actually just leaves the game during this part where I'm soul charging and getting rid of all the cards from my hand. But he basically wouldn't be able to survive anyways, because this is a whole, 4 attacks after this, including 2 Vanguard attacks, and I don't think that he's able to block that. So I attack for 22, and like I said, I believe he left at this point because he didn't think that he could win. Vanguard also had an additional crit, and he says no guard. We do check a crit, so I guess he didn't leave. I thought this was one of the recordings where the person left, but he was just taking a long time to think, and then once he finally did think about it, he was like no guard, and we did 3 damage to him. 5th Element kind of reminds me of not Amon, but Reiji, Bladewing Reiji. It is like the V-Series version of Bladewing Reiji combined with No Life King. So it's actually pretty cool. You do a lot of damage to your opponent if you just get off the combo. Like, as you guys can see in that last game, it didn't take us long at all to get the combo off. So this game we're playing against OTT again. We have a pretty decent hand. We ride into Dimension Creeper. He gets a draw trigger. We get nothing. Then we ride into Werewolf Seeger. We use the skill of Dimension Creeper, and we get the soul charge off of Win the Ripper as well. We do check a heal trigger on our Vanguard attack. So this game is starting off really good for us, getting the rush off as well. Our opponent attacks into our Vanguard, and then we ride into Dantarian. We go for a soul charge 3 so that we can give some power to our rear guards. We attack and we check another heal trigger, which I would have preferred that was a crit, but you know, it's okay. He goes to 5 damage, which is ideally what we want. He goes into Hexagonal Mega, starts using all of his abilities, and then he does check a heal trigger. Thankfully not double heal this time, because you know that was broken, but then he attacks into one of my rear guards, and then he attacks in my Vanguard. I rewrite Dantarian again, I attack his rear guard, and then I attack his rear guard again because I wanted my my other rear guard to be able to hit. So then I attack into his rear guard again because we're trying to set up for No Life King. So we want to soul charge as much as possible. So he does block all the rear guard attacks. We take his Vanguard, and he does get a crit, so we get double trigger, and we guard his rear guard attack. Then we rewrite into No Life King. No Life King gets power. We play another Dimension Creeper, and then we play 2 cards on our rear guard circle. And so basically I go for the attack with 20k to his Vanguard. He guards it. We attack for 53, which he was thinking about. And he chooses to no guard here, I think because he thought that I was going to go into 5th element and that it was going to be a wrap. But when he no guarded, I actually checked a crit and just ended the game right there. He could have PG'd it, as I see that he has 3 PGs in his hand now, but maybe he just didn't want to risk the 5th element play and all that stuff as well, because we do have 5th element in the soul. We were fully set up for it as well. So yeah, that has been the 3rd game for Dark Irregulars. I hope you guys enjoyed the Future Fight video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought and what kind of builds you're trying out for the next set. And yeah, check out our sponsor Dabbers. And with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.